The Titans' arrival. The Titan Empire stretched across 3 galaxies, their dominion absolute and unchallenged for 10,000 years. They had conquered civilizations that built cities in nebulae, subdued races that harvested energy from black holes, and brought to heel species that could manipulate time itself. Yet on this day, Supreme Overlord Kravex stood before his war council with news that barely warranted mention. Another primitive world has been discovered, Kravex announced, his 4 arms gesturing dismissively at the holographic display. A small blue planet in the Orion Arm. They call it Earth. The War Council, comprised of beings whose very presence could crush lesser species with psychic pressure alone, barely glanced at the data. Commander Xiphon, veteran of 1,000 conquests, let out what passed for a laugh among his kind. Single planet species, no FTL capability. Why does this even require our attention? Kravex's crystalline eyes narrowed. Protocol demands we offer them the choice, submission or annihilation. But more importantly, our scouts detected unusual energy readings. These humans possess technology that doesn't match their development level. The hologram shifted, showing a blue and green world orbited by primitive satellites and a single space station. The council members exchanged amused glances. This would be over before their next feeding cycle. Send the standard invasion fleet, suggested Admiral Corvin. 10 dreadnoughts should suffice for such primitives. No, Kravex decided. We'll make an example of them. Dispatch the entire 7th Armada. Let the galaxy witness what happens to those who might consider resistance. Meanwhile, on Earth, the United Nations Emergency Council convened in an underground bunker. The alien message had been received simultaneously by every communication device on the planet. Submit to the Titan Empire or face extinction. They had 7 Earth days to respond. General Sarah Chen stood at the head of the table, her face grave but determined. Ladies and gentlemen, we've prepared for this day. Project Prometheus is ready. The assembled leaders looked skeptical. President Williams leaned forward. 1 ship against an alien armada. The endeavor is impressive, but it's still just 1 vessel. Chen's lips curved into a slight smile. With respect, sir, you haven't seen what Dr. Park and his team have accomplished. The endeavor isn't just a ship. It's humanity's answer to the universe. Dr. James Park, the lead scientist of Project Prometheus, activated a holographic display. The endeavor represents 20 years of reverse engineering crashed alien technology, combined with human innovation. We've created something unique. The hologram showed a sleek vessel, its design defying conventional spacecraft architecture. Adaptive armor that learns from each impact. Weapons systems that analyze and exploit enemy weaknesses in real time. And most importantly, an AI system that thinks like a human but processes like a quantum computer. Ambassador Nakamura voiced what everyone was thinking. Even with all this technology, how can 1 ship stand against an entire fleet? Chen and Park exchanged glances. Because, Ambassador, Chen replied, we're not playing by their rules. The Titans expect conventional warfare. They're about to learn what happens when you corner humanity. As Earth's leaders debated, the Endeavour sat in its hidden lunar base. Captain Michael Torres ran his hand along the ship's hull, feeling the strange warmth of the adaptive metal. His crew of 30 represented humanity's finest. Pilots, engineers, tacticians, and specialists from every corner of Earth. Captain, came the voice of Aria, the ship's eye. I've completed analysis of the Titan Empire's historical battle data. They are formidable but predictable. They rely on overwhelming force and established protocols. Torres nodded. And we're neither overwhelming nor established. Precisely, Captain. Our advantage lies in our unpredictability. Humans possess something I've observed in no other species' data. The ability to find victory in impossible situations through sheer determination and creative thinking. The next day, Earth's response was broadcast to the stars. Instead of surrender or pleading, humanity sent a single message. We choose freedom. The Titan response was swift. The Seventh Armada, comprising 500 warships, each the size of a small moon, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Supreme Commander Thax, aboard the flagship Annihilator, reviewed the tactical display with amusement. "Scanners show no defensive fleet," Supreme Commander reported his tactical officer. "The primitives have no ships except... Wait, there's one vessel approaching from their moon." Thax's mandibles clicked in what his species considered laughter. One ship. They send one ship to meet the might of the Seventh Armada. Record this for the archives. It will amuse the Emperor. The Endeavor emerged from the shadow of Luna, its hull shimmering with an ethereal blue light. To the Titans, it looked almost insignificant, a gnat approaching a hurricane. Captain Torres stood on the bridge, his crew at their stations, each face showing determination rather than fear. "ARIA, begin tactical analysis," Torres commanded. "Already in progress, Captain. I've identified 17 critical weaknesses in their formation. Their ships rely heavily on energy shielding, but the generators have a fatal flaw in their harmonic frequency." First Officer Lisa Washington turned from her station. "Captain, they're hailing us." On screen appeared Supreme Commander Thax, his insectoid features twisted in amusement. "Humans, I am Supreme Commander Thax of the Titan Empire. Your courage is quaint. Power down your vessel and prepare to be transported for processing. Your species will serve the Empire well as laborers." Torres stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Supreme Commander, I'm Captain Michael Torres of the Earth Ship Endeavor. We've received your terms and respectfully decline. We suggest you return to your space and inform your Emperor that Earth chooses to remain free." The bridge of the Annihilator erupted in laughter. Thax's 4 eyes narrowed with mirth. "One ship. You bring one ship and speak of freedom. Very well, human. You've provided entertainment. For that, I'll make your destruction quick." The tactical display on the Annihilator showed the Endeavor as a small blip among hundreds of Titan vessels. Thax raised a claw. "All ships, prepare to fire. Let's end this farce." But as the Titan weapons powered up, something unexpected happened. The Endeavor's hull began to shift and change, panels sliding apart to reveal weapons arrays that defied conventional design. Energy readings spiked to levels that made Titan sensors scream warnings. "Supreme Commander," the tactical officer's voice shook, "their power output. It's impossible. No ship that size should be able to generate such energy." Torres's voice came through the communication channel, no longer diplomatic but cold as space itself. "Supreme Commander, you've made a critical error. You assumed that quantity equals victory. You're about to learn why humanity survived and thrived on a death world. Why we went from caves to space in a blink of cosmic time." The Endeavor's AI, ARIA, had been busy. In the seconds since the confrontation began, she had analyzed every Titan ship, catalogued every weapon system, and identified every weakness. She whispered to Torres, "Captain, I've completed my analysis. Their shields operate on a rotating frequency pattern. I can predict the modulation with 99.97% accuracy." Torres smiled grimly. "Then let's show them what one human ship can do." The space around the Endeavor began to warp as its experimental drive system engaged. To the Titan's sensors, it appeared as if the human ship was everywhere and nowhere at once. Quantum probability fields overlapped, creating dozens of sensor ghosts. "Fire," Thax commanded, but his weapons officers were confused. Which target was real? Their systems couldn't lock on to the constantly shifting signatures. The Endeavor struck first. A beam of exotic particles, tuned to the exact frequency ARIA had calculated, sliced through the shields of a Titan destroyer as if they weren't there. The ship's hull breached instantly, atmosphere venting into space. "Impossible," Thax roared. "Our shields are impervious." But they weren't. Not to human ingenuity combined with AI calculation. The Endeavor danced through space, its weapons adapting in real time to each Titan defense. For every shot the Titans fired, the human ship had already moved, leaving only quantum echoes in its wake. On Earth, billions watched through telescopes and broadcasts as their single defender engaged the alien armada. In homes, bunkers, and public squares, humanity held its breath. Children clutched their parents' hands, elders whispered prayers to various deities, and scientists watched readouts with growing amazement. The battle had begun, and against all odds, against all logic, humanity's lone champion was holding its own. The Titans had expected submission or a quick victory. They had calculated for every variable except one. They had never faced humans before. As the Endeavor carved through the Titan formation, leaving disabled ships in its wake, a message spread through the Empire's fleet. For the first time in 10,000 years, doubt crept into Titan minds. The primitive species they had come to conquer was anything but primitive. The real battle was just beginning, and the universe would never be the same. The echo of defiance. The battle had raged for 3 hours, and the impossible was becoming reality. Where once 500 Titan warships had formed an impenetrable wall of destruction, now dozens drifted powerless, their systems overloaded by attacks they couldn't comprehend. The Endeavor continued its deadly dance, each movement calculated by ARIA to millisecond precision. On the bridge of the Annihilator, Supreme Commander Thax watched his tactical display with growing disbelief. His fleet, the pride of the 7th Armada, was being systematically dismantled by a single human vessel. Analysis. He barked at his science officer. How are they doing this? The officer's tendrils trembled as he responded. Supreme Commander, they're shipped. It's learning. Each time we adapt our shields, their weapons immediately recalibrate. It's as if they're reading our thoughts. Aboard the Endeavor, Captain Torres felt the strain of prolonged combat. His crew worked with mechanical precision, but he could see the exhaustion in their eyes. They were only human, after all, facing odds that defied comprehension. ARIA. Status report, Torres commanded. Captain, we've disabled 87 enemy vessels. However, our adaptive armor is showing stress fractures, and our power core is operating at 127% capacity. I calculate we can maintain this level of combat for another 47 minutes before systems begin to fail. Torres nodded grimly. They had done more than anyone thought possible, but it wasn't enough. There were still hundreds of enemy ships, and the Endeavor was beginning to show its limits. Captain, Weapons Officer Chen called out, I'm reading massive energy buildup from the enemy flagship. It's unlike anything we've seen. On the Annihilator's bridge, Thax had made a decision. Activate the planet killer, he ordered. If we cannot have Earth as subjects, we'll ensure no one has it at all. The Titan flagship's hull split open, revealing a weapon that had ended civilizations. The planet killer had been used only 3 times in Titan history, each time erasing entire worlds from existence. It drew power from subspace itself, creating a cascade reaction that would tear Earth apart at the molecular level. Supreme Commander, his weapons officer reported, planet killer charging. Target locked on Earth. Firing solution in 5 minutes. Torres received the scan data, his face paling. ARIA. Analysis of that weapon. Captain, it's a subspace disruptor. If it fires, Earth will be destroyed. The cascade effect would likely damage Earth's moon and potentially destabilize Mars' orbit as well. I estimate 0 probability of planetary survival. The bridge fell silent. They had fought so hard, achieved the impossible, but now faced a weapon that would render all their efforts meaningless. Earth would die, and with it, humanity's future. Options. Torres asked, though he suspected the answer. One option, Captain, ARIA responded. The Prometheus Protocol. Every crew member froze. The Prometheus Protocol was theoretical, untested, and according to most scientists, suicidal. It involved overloading the Endeavor's quantum core, creating a localized black hole that would consume everything within a 1,000-kilometer radius. If we activate Prometheus, Dr. Park's voice came through the comm from his station, we might take the planet killer with us. But Captain, we don't know if we can control the reaction. We could destroy ourselves and fail to stop them. Torres stood, looking at each of his crew. These brave souls had followed him into hell itself. Now he was asking them to go further. All hands, he announced shipwide. This is the captain. The enemy has a planet-killer weapon charging. We have one option that might save Earth. I won't order you to do this. This is a choice each of you must make. One by one, his crew straightened at their posts. Navigator Williams spoke first. Captain, my daughter is 5 years old. She's watching the stars right now, believing we'll save her. I'm in. My parents immigrated to Earth from Mars, added Engineer Rodriguez. They believed in humanity's future. So do I. Let's do this. Each crew member voiced their agreement. They were afraid. Torres could see it, but their fear was overshadowed by determination. This was humanity at its finest. Ordinary people choosing to face the impossible for those they loved. Era, Torres commanded, begin Prometheus protocol. All hands, prepare for quantum cascade. The Endeavor's hull began to glow with an inner light as its quantum core exceeded all safety parameters. Space itself warped around the ship as fundamental forces were unleashed. On the Titan flagship, alarms screamed warnings. Supreme Commander, the science officer shrieked. The human ship is creating a quantum singularity. If it reaches critical mass, fire the planet killer now. Fax roared. But it was too late. The Endeavor shot forward, its engines burning beyond all limits. Aria's calculations were perfect, plotting a course that would bring them directly into the planet killer's firing chamber. The Titan weapons crews tried desperately to stop them, but their shots bent around the forming singularity. Captain, Aria said, her voice strangely emotional for an AI. It's been an honor serving with humanity. Torres gripped his command chair as reality twisted around them. The honor has been mine, Aria. All of you, you've shown the universe what humanity truly is. The Endeavor plunged into the Annihilator's open weapon bay. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Then the quantum cascade reached critical mass. Reality folded in on itself as a miniature black hole formed, consuming the planet killer, the Annihilator, and the Endeavor in a flash of impossible light. The explosion rippled through space, its shockwave disabling dozens more Titan ships. Where the mighty flagship had been, only twisted space remained, slowly healing as the universe reasserted its laws. On Earth, silence reigned. Telescopes and sensors showed the aftermath. The Titan fleet in disarray, their flagship gone, their ultimate weapon destroyed. But also gone was humanity's defender, the brave Endeavor and her crew. The remaining Titan ships hung motionless, their crews in shock. Never in their empire's history had they witnessed such sacrifice. These humans, these primitives, had done the unthinkable. One ship, 30 crew members, had crippled the mighty 7th Armada and destroyed their most powerful weapon. Sub-Commander Vex, now the ranking officer, stared at the tactical display. His fleet was in ruins, their morale shattered. These humans had shown something the Titans had forgotten in their millennia of dominance: the power of sacrifice, the strength of determination, and the unconquerable nature of a species that refused to kneel. "Sir," his communications officer whispered, "what are your orders?" Vex was silent for a long moment. Then, for the first time in Titan military history, he gave an order that would echo through the Empire. "All ships, withdraw. Return to Titan space." "Sir," the officer was shocked. "But the invasion is over," Vex stated. "We came here expecting to face primitives. Instead, we found warriors willing to die for their freedom. Report to the Emperor. Earth is unconquerable." As the battered Titan fleet limped into hyperspace, Earth erupted in celebration mixed with mourning. Humanity had survived, but at a terrible cost. The crew of the Endeavour became legends, their names etched in memory forever. In the following days, as the full impact of what had happened became clear, something changed in humanity. The sacrifice of 30 individuals had saved billions, but more than that, it had announced humanity's arrival on the galactic stage. Messages began arriving from other species, civilizations that had watched the battle in awe. The Centauri Collective, the Andromedan Alliance, even the ancient predecessors sent communications. All carried the same sentiment. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. The Titan Empire never returned to Earth's space. In their historical archives, the battle was recorded with a notation that became famous throughout the galaxy. Here we met a species that valued freedom over life itself. Here we learned that the size of an armada matters not when faced with the size of a species' heart. Years later, as humanity ventured into space with new allies and new technology reverse-engineered from the battle, they built a monument at the site where the Endeavour made its last stand. The inscription read, "To the crew of the Endeavour, who showed the universe that humanity kneels to no one. 30 souls who faced an empire and whispered no." And across the galaxy, in countless languages and countless forms, the story spread of the day a small blue planet stood against an empire, of the day one ship faced hundreds, of the day humanity announced to the universe, "We are here, we are free, and we will never yield." The Titan Empire had expected millions of soldiers. Instead, they got one human ship and a lesson they would never forget. Sometimes, the universe learned, one ship is enough when it carries the unconquerable spirit of humanity. In the end, Earth didn't just survive. It inspired. And throughout the galaxy, species began to whisper a new phrase, a phrase that would echo through the ages. Never underestimate the humans.